Hello and welcome everyone to Let's Play Tomb Raider 4 Remastered. This is 115 speaking, and I would very much like to welcome you to our second visit of the Sacred Lake. And this is gonna be the finale of the endless loop of these three Karnak levels. So, in today's visit of the Sacred Lake, we are essentially gonna scoop up the remaining 15 goodies, raising our total pickups count to 182. We are also gonna land the remaining 7 kills, landing us with the sweet number of 100 kills, and also we are gonna find this level's one and only secret here, raising the total to 30. No breakable objects or any achievement progress to speak of. Okay guys, so interesting thing, if you do try to come back, by the way, we lit up the flare back in the Hypostal Hall, but you cannot come back to the Hypostal Hall like this. Unfortunately, you'll need to re-enter the Temple of Karnak through the Sacred Lake, in case you are for whatever reason missing the Sun Disk, but that's not the case. If you have the Sun Disk, the Sun Goddess, well, and the Amulet of Horus, without which you cannot be here, you are good to go and progress. Furthermore, it's been a while since we last visited this courtyard, but hey, a new kill, isn't that something? Always excited when that happens, and Lara's aim just got even worse during that time. By the way, the archway from which we entered, if you remember the last time we were here, was completely blocked off via a dark texture like this, and as we approached it from the inside, it receded into the floor. In order for us to progress and reach the Tomb of Samarkand, we need to make that archway over there open up, and the way we're gonna achieve that is with the Sun Goddess Sun Disk combining into Sun Talisman. Individually, you cannot place them here. But if you finally combine them, and you'll end up with a Sun Talisman, oh man, just observe this cutscene. Clearly 1999 devs were proud of it. Particle effects galore. Something about this is just really cute. Furthermore, if you noticed, above each archway that opened this way is a small representation of the Sun Disk, in essence. It was here in the original, it is here now. Not so much at the entrance that we entered from, which makes perfect sense, because these ones open only when we insert the goddess inside, okay? There we go. I just wanted to time it perfectly so that she's center and aligned. Beautiful. And she has starry night sky on her dress. Oh, that's really sweet. Okay. Even the Sun Disk looks way better now that its brightness setting is not up to 11. Okay. So what I'd like to do is just take a picture of this courtyard in the remastered and the original graphics. I promised I would do that during our first visit into the Sacred Lake. Awesome. There we go. And by the way, guys, one important thing. In case you are interested in all kills, we need to make a bit of a detour. And this is really interesting, because back in 2021, when I was working on my original Let's Play, it was essentially not possible to do during your first visit into the Sacred Lake, only upon revisiting this area in the second or all subsequent visits of the Sacred Lake. And I have tested this over and over, and even recently. Why am I talking about this? Well, you guys have actually pointed out that the next crocodile we are about to kill you can already slaughter in the first visit to the Sacred Lake, via wrapping up business in the inner courtyard and then making it back here. And you know what's really interesting? This is not the case in the Good Old Games PC version of the game, from which I took all my notes and did all my practice back in 2021. However, I have retested it for remasters, and you are 100% correct. So I apologize for not knowing this. I just never thought that the remasters would make a change or a tweak like this. But I think no harm done. We are still gonna walk away with all 20 kills. So know that you can absolutely land the crocodile kill a little bit earlier during your first visit into the Sacred Lake, which I guess essentially means if you have done, your kills count for the subsequent visit to the Temple of Karnak and Great Hypostal Hall, and even when beginning the second visit of the Sacred Lake will be +1 compared to what I have. But from this point on, we are all synchronized, and that's what matters. Okay guys, so we have a couple of entrances here. Where we need to go to continue, as the cutscene showed us, is west, but I would recommend go to the north first, because over here is a very easy to miss small medpack. Yeah, uncovering an ancient mystery like this after combining the Sun Disk and Sun Goddess just to find a small medpack doesn't feel quite right, which is why I'm gonna cheer myself up via going south now, where there's gonna be way many more interesting things and goodies and treasures to pick up, and also this level's one and only secret. So let's just make a jump here, and I would actually like to explain something really neat. That is, assuming you can see water down there. I sure as hell cannot. Again, Saber, Aspire, please fix this. This is awful. You need to switch to original graphics to see if there's actually water there. So now that we know there is water, I just want to talk about the depth. Should you fall down from any height into water like this that you can swim in, you're safe. Should you fall from a large height to shallow water that you can still run on the surface because it's so shallow, you can damage Lara or even break her neck. However, what happens when you fall from a large height into water that Lara needs to wade through? Well, there doesn't exist an animation for her to die like this. So in fact, if you end up even swan diving into this kind of water, where Lara comes into full physical contact with solid floor, she'll be completely fine and unharmed. And I would very much like to show that to you. So let's just make sure I am aligned to that corner over there, and let's swan dive. Yay! See? No animation for that exists, so this will just instantly break her fall. Now, of course, it's way more stylish to just swan dive into the tunnel over here, swim and pick up the shotgun shells, but hey, I just thought that was a pretty interesting experiment. And again, if you were to swan dive instead onto this side with shallow water, that'd be the end of it. Poor Lara would end up breaking her neck, okay? So as you can see, plethora of goodies here, but you might be wondering, Zelgaris, you promised us a secret, and I did not hear a secret chime yet, and that's because, well, you need to open the panel over here, which I consider to be a bad design for a secret, because by now when you reach this point, you needed to have figured out that these can be opened, you know? This was mandatory during our first visit into the Sacred Lake to continue and get here. So at this point, I don't think that's a worthwhile mechanism for a secret. If it would be used like in the first visit of Temple of Karnak, where if you figure this out early, you're gonna end up rewarding with 2 secrets, that makes sense. But here, by now you know how these work, so it's not really much of a secret. Anyhow, the rewards are that matters. Explosive crossbow arrows. These are gonna be our lifeblood eventually. Okay, white shots I don't care about, but what's pretty cool is the large medpack that we're never gonna use, probably. We'll see. I'm just worried about one particular situation in the game. Anywho, out we go, and that's the southern side that we've explored. Now guys, I'm gonna do something really stupid and dangerous, and I really recommend you don't do it. What I recommend you do instead is climb up the pole, jump here, and then jump there. But I'm gonna try to climb up the pole and make a backflip over here, which is something I refused to do in my 2021 LP for a good reason. Yeah, let's see how that turns out. Okay, let's try and align Lara exactly like this. I'm looking at the texture to the bottom right of the Thoth statue. That's how we are aligned, and I guess technically this should... Ooh, I'm nervous. This should work. Okay, let me now think about the height. And I'm gonna just try and backflip, not even do a mid-air roll. Ooh. I did pull this off once, I'm just not sure I'll pull it off again. By the way, I adore the effect above fire over there. Okay. Oh no, I need to sneeze. God, I spared you that noise. That was the last thing I can think. Okay, so... let's just backflip and hope for, the best. Okay, that was way smoother than I expected. Awesome. So, we wrapped up a northern and southern side, and let's now head west, where the cutscene showed us to go, to continue the level. And this is a really large, impressive area. However, I do recommend you start monkey swinging immediately, despite there being goodies, because this way... you'll take care of the unpleasant stuff as soon as possible. See, the Vicious Core era devs thought it's a good idea to take 3 bets on you the moment you start monkey swinging. So, now, when it comes to bets, I'm always a bit nervous I'll miss some. So let me check the kills. We are at 95. We want to be at 98 here. Okay, that's 2 down. There's a third one. By the way, they can absolutely get stuck in these columns, and if that happens, Lara will even aim at them, but she will never ever hit them. So that's a bit concerning. look at these monsters. We actually took damage from bats. Well, now I feel really stupid, but they're absolutely horrible in Tomb Raider 4. Nevertheless, I want to see 98 kills. Wonderful. So, this way, I don't really mind dropping down here anyway, because we have 3 more goodies to think about. And I'm really tempted to light a flare here, but I'm not going to do that, because that will cause problems when monkey swinging again. Besides, it's fairly bright even without the object highlight. There we go. By the way, trying to think about what these columns could represent, and I think these are peasants carrying stones or sacks of grain or something like that. I'm not sure, guys, what you think, what your guess is, but I think we're gonna see even a more impressive depiction or mural up top, which is where we need to go. Okay, let us monkey swing across. Don't worry, nothing quite as serious as in the Great Hippostal Hall. And let's make it into the crawl space over there, which again is gonna have plethora of goodies. And I think starting from the next chapter, I'll switch to a no pistols challenge. Although I'm not particularly excited about no pistols challenge in Tomb Raider 4 because it's just so obvious there is no challenge, given the insane amount of shotgun ammo. But yeah, we'll see. Tomb Raider 4 doesn't really, I think, make that kind of playstyle exciting at all, since it's not really that combat focused, although it'll be interesting to compare the total kills count with all previous titles. You know I'm gonna do it. Okay, so easy to miss Uzi clips over here. Let's just get down immediately. Oh, I kind of wish we could also do 180-degree roll while scrolling. That would be really handy often, but of course unrealistic. Okay, I think this should be fine. Perfect alignment, awesome, happy about that. And again, let's drop the flare here so it doesn't go out as we're trying to grab the ledge over there. This entire area really reminds me of the Temple of the Cat, and I mean that as a compliment. Okay, yeah, make sure not to fall down on this side, this can be really tricky. Now the cool thing is, we see the tops of these columns that were showing the peasants carrying something heavy. Now we see sort of winged serpents above them. Maybe a nice callback to the winged scarab and a serpent key item from burial chambers. And now, what I just wanted to show you is the mural depiction over here. It's way brighter in the original, you know what? For this one I'm gonna light up a flare, not sure how much that's gonna help. And what we see is, you know what? Yeah, essentially here at the middle, a repeated texture. There's Osiris being mummified by someone. Sorry, I don't know who the people surrounding him are. This could be Osiris's wife Isis. I'm not entirely sure, mourning her husband. But the question I have is, you know, is this taking place before or after Seth cut him into like 100 different pieces? Because after his mummification, Seth cut him up, ensuring that he could not come back to life. And I just don't know if this is after they retrieved all the parts or before. Let me guys know what you think. Anyway, I think a really good description of this summary was done by SsethTzeentach, or however you pronounce his channel name, when talking about the real-time strategy game Pharaoh. I'm gonna provide a link to the description below, and it's absolutely hilarious. You should check him out. Okay guys, so enough talking about the mural. You know what though, I am absolutely gonna take a picture. And I would, you know what, yeah, we're gonna keep Lara's head in there. Look at her being all inquisitive. And I think this is gonna work out great. Anywho, onwards we go. No need to prolong this brief level, because I want to get to the interesting level as soon as possible. First of all, 2 bats should be here as you approach. And when we see the number 100, we know we've landed all the kills. Yay! Okay, that feels pretty damn good. Now be very careful. If you drop here, you don't need to make any kind of safety drop, which is awesome. And here we have just a little dark shrine, so of course I'm gonna waste another flare. You know how much I love wasting these. And we get our hands on an Uzi. Now remember before how Uzi clips gave us 45 bullets? Well, now observe that we will only get 30. So 1023. Yep, see? Less ammo from the Uzi itself than the actual Uzi clips. And a box of flares. Okay guys, and now we are entering the final area of the non-linear Karnak section. And be very careful, because as soon as you cross this threshold, you will find yourself in what is this game's most difficult level. Okay? One cool thing I never realized in the original, because we didn't have photo mode back then, is that you can absolutely get behind this door and check out the corridor over here. Honestly, I was kind of hoping that there would be the red eyes of the Guardian of Samarkand deep inside as a little Easter egg in the remasters, but alas, that doesn't seem to be the case, so I'm a little bit disappointed. Nevertheless, notice how this receptacle is shaped exactly like the Amulet of Horus, and that is not a coincidence. However, you, the player, will not get to do it. Lara will in middle of an FMV. Furthermore, look at this. This was atrocious. I called this one of the ugliest areas in the original Tomb Raider 4, which really broke my heart, because Tomb Raider 4 is such a pretty game, even in its original graphics, but this just doesn't cut it. I don't know what went wrong here. Everything, seemingly. But the remaster finally took care of it, and they used the FMV as an inspiration for how to chisel out these Seth statues properly. And I'm so happy about this new look, okay? I think I would very much like to also capture it via a picture, but I want to capture this frame of the columns and the two Seth statues, and I just don't know if I can do it from any conceivable angle like this. So you know what? Screw that. We're gonna do it from this side. This is gonna be so much better. Let's align it just a little bit to give it more ominous feel. Yeah, I think I'm happy about this. And my friends, with this picture, I am gonna wrap things up on my end. So first of all, I would very much like to make a level end save here and check the stat screen. This was the second visit to the Sacred Lake. We have gotten our hands on the remaining 15 goodies, raising the total to 182, and landed 7 remaining kills. If, however, in the remastered version specifically, you already killed the crocodile when backtracking back to the Hippostal Hall in your first visit of the Sacred Lake, you only have 6 enemies to worry about here. 1 scorpion, 5 bats. Nevertheless, when you wrap things up here, you should have 100 kills and also 30 secrets found, because we found this level's one and only secret. No achievements or breakable vessels to speak of here, but my god, that's gonna change when we enter the next level. An absolute beast that we're gonna take branching pathways through, unlock multiple achievements, break a ton of vessels, and honestly, it's gonna be probably the longest video of this entire run. You have so much to look forward to. But that is not all, because I also want to show you an absolutely amazing cutscene, which is a nice callback to events in Cambodia, and then I'm gonna say thanks to my absolutely amazing patrons.
Miss Croft!
Von Croy.
You sound concerned, my dear. Have you misplaced something?
Nothing I shan't be retrieving at a later date, Lieber.
You know how I admire your perseverance, but I fear this time we may be testing it to the, how would you say, maximum.
Always griping, Werner. If it's the leg causing all this resentment, I seem to remember that being down to your affinity with pulling hazardous levers.
Enough of this tedious banter, Miss Croft. It is time for you to realize... Miss Croft? Now, let us review your sprinting skills.
You know, I think that the cinematic focus of Tomb Raider 4 is really paying off in the FMVs. Remember back in Cambodia how young Lara made it out just in time and Von Croy remained trapped inside? Well, in a twisted kind of sense, he now had his revenge, and it is now Lara who is trapped inside, and Von Croy is the one on the other side. But the situation is a little bit different. He has the Amulet of Horus, Lara doesn't have the Iris. Furthermore, it was Lara last time in Cambodia who heeded and respected the warnings, unlike Von Croy, who was full of himself, went for the Iris and ended up injuring himself, which is why he's using a walking cane nowadays. This time, however, it was Lara who did not heed the warnings of the amulet until was too late, picked it up, and it's like she didn't learn lessons she seemed to have known back in her younger days in Cambodia. Absolutely fascinating, and it's gonna be fun to watch where and how the story develops and the relationship between Lara and her ex-mentor. Furthermore, this seems a bit harsh to me, but Lara just started shooting the moment Von Croy peeked out his head. And, you know, that seems kind of brutal, even by Lara's standards. On the other hand, she's a smart girl. She figured out that Von Croy is now sending goons to kill rather than just to retrieve the Amulet of Horus. So she knows damn too well that letting him live is dangerous to her, no matter what their past relationship was. And again, this is just absolutely fascinating to me. So guys, I just wanted to talk about this FMV because I love it so much and how the story develops, but I am also here to say thanks to my absolutely amazing patrons. Blind Goopel, Make, Severin Drax, Enstickle, Katie Danger, Pooh the 2, and Basic Brian E. Thank you guys so much for being my loyal Winstons and for giving myself and Lara directions today via the giant disco ball that is the Sun Talisman. Next, I would like to say big thanks to my caretaker Winstons, Michael McConkey, Karavetu, Renegade Durney, Blanket Fox, Jonathan Jones, Dig the Bee, and PD92. Thank you guys so much for your support of the channel and also for looking after Von Croy's injured leg. It might seem counterproductive to us now, but eventually we'll be glad you did when he'll come to the rescue. I would also like to give special thanks to my brave veteran Winstons, Andrea Pavilianiti, Alexander, and Richard Dearman. Thank you guys so much for your valiant support of the channel and also for putting your animal taming skills to use today, taming and bringing the last crocodile to the entrance from the Great Hippostyle Hall. This one guy got away last time we were in the Sacred Lake, but not today thanks to your assistance. And finally, I would like to give one very, very special thanks to my one and only fine vintage Winston, Akira Foxmind. Thank you so much for your generous support of the channel, and also today for picking up your hammer and chisel and getting to work, restoring the final Karnak courtyard leading into the tomb of Samarkand. You essentially turned this into this, and I can't thank you enough for your hard work. And on a final note, I'd like to say thanks to my free Patreon members as well as to each and every one of you for making it to the very end of the video. This really helps promote them out there on YouTube, which is a scary place for all non-monetized videos, but we are making it happen and we are growing together thanks to your support, guys, and the support of my absolutely amazing patrons, thanks to whom I can afford to spend more time doing these videos, which is kind of a dream coming true, really. Now guys, you know what's a dream coming true as well? Tackling a proper Tomb Raider 2 or 3 sized level, and that's exactly what's gonna be next. Finally, I am so fed up with these tiny bits and pieces. We need to put our tomb raiding skills to the test with an absolute behemoth of a level, and that's exactly what I'm starting to work on right here, right now. All I'm gonna ask for is a little bit of patience. I will need at least 1 week's time to finish this, but my god, by Anubis, it is gonna be worth it. This I promise. And until I'll see you guys next time, I wish all of you happy raiding.